All right, take three. I'm not having a good night. So let's see if this one works out better. All right, Lions, Falcons. 5-2 Lions against the 2-5 Falcons on Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. in London at Wembley Stadium. NFL's tagline, "Wake up to Wembley." It's actually kind of funny. I kind of like that. So, game's on 9:30. I'm actually pretty excited for it. I love when I've seen other teams play that early. I think they had the Penn State Central Florida game on, or Central Florida game on earlier in the year, that early in the morning. They played it over there, so I'm loving these kind of games, these early games like this. The Lions game is going to be over before all the other games start, unless it goes into overtime or goes long, something like that. So I think it's going to be interesting. This is the only one this year that's going to be on at this time. It's the only one on tomorrow or Sunday at this time. So nationally televised. Everyone's going to be watching. I'm excited. Let's get down to it. Biggest storyline, obviously, I just talked about it. The game's in London, and the biggest thing that I've seen when I've been looking at this is the grass. It's not a normal field because it's not meant for football. I heard it's just the grass is a little bit longer than what we're used to over here. Just a different kind of grass, which makes games kind of slower. So that may take effect into this one. Atlanta can't run the ball. We can't run the ball, but it might hamper Devin Hester a little bit, which would be good. We as Lions fans have seen that guy run enough touchdowns back on us. So if that works on that front, then it'll do its job. So I'll be happy with that. I could do a whole video on the whole idea of putting a team over here or in London, or putting Super Bowl over in London. I am not a fan at all. I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's fans over there, but to put a team over there and to sacrifice all the fans on this side when it's American football, this is just a money grab, just like pretty much everything else. So, but I'm not even going to get into that. I could waste this whole time talking about that. I don't want to get into that right now. So let's talk about the game. Calvin Johnson is questionable. He practiced 3 practices this week with the ankle injury. That makes me think that he's going to play. He usually doesn't practice during the week on games he doesn't play. He usually only shows up on Friday on a limited basis just to test it out. He's been nicked up for the last few years, so we're pretty used to this as Lions fans. Just the fact that he practiced Wednesday and Thursday makes me think that he is going to play. It's in London. This might be the only chance he ever gets to play over there. So I think even if it's 50-50 and it's on the line, I think he plays. Kind of thinking, okay, if I tweak it a little bit, I got the bye week next week. But a lot of people are saying that's all talk, trying to drum up interest for this game, but I think he plays. Bottom line, if I had to put money on it, I think he plays, because I just don't understand why you practice him this week if you had no desire or no thought to play him in the game on Sunday. You might as well just rest him until all the way until 2 weeks from now when we're preparing for Miami. So even though I think that we have Calvin, all the other injuries don't look good. But I'll get to that in a minute here. But man, our offense has been beginning of the year. We took a hit on defense. We lost Tulloch, we lost Bentley, we lost Nevin Lawson, we lost all these guys on defense, and then that flood stopped and the injury bug came over the offensive side. Luckily, we haven't had any serious injuries on this side. They're all just week to week, but as for this game, there's just going to be a lot of weapons out. Luckily, Golden Tate seems to never get hurt, knock on wood. But there's not going to be many weapons for Stafford again. I'm probably going to have to sit there, and I'm just going to have to not look at my phone. I'll put it that way, because I really don't feel like dealing with all these morons that don't know what they're talking about. They're trashing Stafford, saying that You know, he should be playing like Peyton Manning with fucking all these jokers that we're throwing out there right now during this, you know, this stretch of injuries. So yeah, let's go into the injuries here. We got Eric Ebron, Joseph Fourier are both out, tight ends. Reggie Bush and Brandon Pettigrew are both doubtful. More likely they won't play. They're 25% chance of playing. I don't think either one of them plays. Reggie, I think, practiced Wednesday, but Pettigrew hasn't practiced all week. Calvin, like I said, is questionable. I think he plays. Adrian Waddle's questionable. I think he plays too. His was a concussion, and usually for concussions, if you're cleared to practice, you're cleared to play. So I don't even see really why he's questionable, but I think he plays. Ziggy Ansah and Theo Riddick are both probable. So that's 75% they're in. For Falcons, Jonathan Babineau and Harry Douglas, the defensive tackle and wide receiver respectively, they are both questionable. Guard Justin Blaylock, receiver Julio Jones, and linebacker Prince Shembo are all probable, so they'll play. They're decimated on their offensive line. They are down to one starter on their offensive line. I think their third center. So their guys get hurt seriously especially on that line. I think 4 of those guys all season-ending injuries. So they're hurting really bad on the front line, which leads us into our 3 keys to victory for the Lions this weekend. And with that, number 1 is the biggest one, in my opinion. Get pressure to Matt Ryan. They have no run game. They cannot protect Ryan. Their offensive line is just as bad as ours are. But, you know, ours, we have all of our starters and we're still that bad. But, you put pressure on Ryan, it could be like the Vikings game. How we put pressure on Bridgewater and he wasn't able to handle it and threw 3 picks and we sacked him 8 times. I think it could be a lot like that game. Hopefully we'll get more points on the offensive end, but defensively I think the game's going to be a lot like that. So get to Ryan, pressure him, sack him. Hopefully we get a couple turnovers and help our offense out who's going to be hurt with injuries. Key number 2, I think we need to start throwing the ball more. I know every team wants to talk about balance, wants to talk about this and that, but it's not working. The run is just not working. It's putting the offense into a lot of second and longs, third and longs, which then makes the passing. I just think we need to throw the ball more. I think it needs to be more 2/3 passing, 1/3 rushing. Have the pass set up the run. Just come out and pass, and then work in the run instead of the other way around. Even without the weapons. Like, that just means we got to use Theo more, you know, in the slot game and the screen game, slants, stuff like that. So that's key number 2. Key number 3, limit the turnovers. We had 2 more turnovers last week against New Orleans with the 2 picks on Stafford. The first one being his fault, second one being a drop pick. We gotta limit the turnovers and finally, hopefully, be in the positive, be in the green on turnover ratio. So those are my 3 keys in that order. Get to Ryan, throw more, and limit the turnovers. I think we get those 3. I think it should be smooth sailing, which leads into my prediction. I predicted blowouts the last 2 weeks, maybe, and it hasn't happened. So maybe if I don't predict a blowout, we'll do what we should be doing on paper, which is this should be a blowout. But I'm gonna say 17-10, with the game being outside and in another stadium, you know, another country. I'm going 17-10 Detroit with a game being in hand pretty much the whole game, and then just giving up maybe a last minute or last few minute touchdown garbage time to Atlanta. So that's really how I think about this one. On paper, it just looks like it's going to be a domination from Detroit's end, especially if we have Calvin back. So there's really not much to go into this one. We got the bye next week, so we need this one. I think this one is more important than last week, because going into a bye with a loss, I think it would be a bad thing for us. So I'd go into the bye at 6-2, and we should be sitting pretty good for the the playoff push after the bye week started with Miami. Around the NFC North, I got Minnesota at Tampa. I got Tampa in that one. They both are bad teams, but Tampa's at home, so I'll give them the edge there. Chicago at New England. Got to give it to New England. Just being at home, even though Chicago's been playing better on the road this year, I still got to give the edge to New England on that one. Granted, after they got Gerard Mayo got hurt a couple weeks ago, and they lost someone on offense too. I think they lost a offensive lineman. Or no, it's Stephen Ridley. I apologize. They lost 2 starters a couple weeks ago, and I think it hurt them last week. They barely beat the Jets. They had to get a blocked field goal to win that game. So maybe they're vulnerable. You know, maybe that was a fluke. I don't know. I guess we'll see this week against Chicago. Another, bad team that's reeling, that's fighting in the locker room, fighting in the press. That's just a dysfunctional team, and a team that is 3-4, and I think is the perfect record for right now, because every year everyone says that Chicago is going to be amazing. Every year around this time is when the dip starts, and everyone acts like they didn't see this coming. It's like, how I don't understand how many years this has to happen. It's just like the Lions. I'm a Lions fan, and as a fan, I think it will do it. But history shows that we choke in the second half. So hopefully we don't. But right now, Chicago is living true to their history. They started out semi-strong, and they've just sucked. They've lost, I think, 3 of their last 4. And really, they should have lost against San Francisco. So really, they should be 2-5 instead of 3-4. So I got New England in that one. And then third one, I got New Orleans at home. Drew Brees plays the best on prime time at home, so I gotta go New Orleans there. That's a huge desperation game for them since they lost to us last week. I think they're gonna be pretty pissed off at home, and I think they're gonna make Green Bay look like the average team they are, because Aaron Rodgers makes them look a lot better than they really are. You take like they proved it last year. You take Aaron Rodgers off that team is pretty bad. So I just think they're an average team that got. Their last few wins, they beat Minnesota at home on a primetime game, so that was a blowout in the rain. Then they beat Chicago in Chicago, but Chicago hasn't won a game at home this year. Then they beat Miami on a last-second touchdown that if the guy would have tackled him in bounds, that would have been a loss. And then they whooped up on Carolina that last week. Why couldn't we have played Carolina now? Because they are looking like dog shit now, and we lost the game, but we definitely didn't fucking help ourselves with the turnovers and just lack of productivity on offense. So I'm going all against an NFC North there on those 3 games. I think all 3 will lose, and which if that happens, that'll help us out, because right now we're tied with Green Bay at top of the division at 5-2. So if they lose to New Orleans, and especially since we beat New Orleans, that helps us twice. So should be a fun week. Should be a fun Sunday. I can't wait to wake up early and watch the Lions there at 9:30 a.m. So that's it for me. Go Lions. If you have a comment, let me know. Spark some conversation below. Alright guys, talk to you later.